right, hello everyone. Welcome back. Another Sunday, another episode for the past like 95 weeks. We still kick in, I guess. Trying my best out here. All right. So, welcome to the show.
Hi. Thanks for
Hello.
having me.
No problem. Thanks for the short notice. Had a little bit of trouble finding someone this week, so glad this worked out. Always appreciative of people that agree to do it in like 2 days notice because I feel like that's just so short and I always feel bad
Yeah.
about it, but
I don't usually do stuff on Sundays, but my schedule's been a little all over the place recently, and I saw the tweet and I was like, "You know what? Why not? Sounds fun."
well, you made it, so that's good.
I
now we
did.
could now we can talk about speedrunning. Speaking of which, what do you do in the scene?
Okay, so I'm LuckyOwl360 for anyone that doesn't know. I primarily speedrun Super Mario 64. I also speedrun Luigi's Mansion. I do any percent no out of bounds. And Pokemon Puzzle League,
Hmm,
actually. And I'd say like pretty much all major categories of that game.
it's an interesting choice. Doesn't seem
Um,
like a speed run, you know, at a first glance, I guess.
oh yeah. I mean the thing is, like, I always just really loved that game growing up. I played it a lot as a kid on the N64 and um I don't remember when or why I started watching Pokemon Puzzle League speedruns specifically, but when I needed to branch out from SM64, I was like, this is a game that I would love to play on stream, and surprisingly, people liked it. So I was like, okay, well, we're gonna speedrun this now, and it's been really fun. Has a really good scene too.
Yeah, cool. It's nice that all sorts of games can build a community. So,
Yeah, yeah. It's like a smaller community, but they're very tight knit and they're very active, which is nice. So that's been something I've noticed with like every speed game that I've played is that the communities have been very passionate, whether they're like a large one like SM64 or they're smaller like Pokemon Puzzle League. It's been really cool.
mhm. Yeah, plenty of options out there. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much any game that exists, I feel like you can find a speedrun. At least someone's tried it.
For the most part. Uh, there are probably millions of games now, so who knows, but there's a
Hmm.
surprising amount. That's for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Well, I guess we can go ahead and start from the beginning as usual. The first question I ask is how'd you find out about speedrunning? How'd you start and all that?
Okay. So I would say the first speedrunning esque thing for me was when I was like, goodness, when did Mario Kart Wii come out?
Ooh,
Uh,
2006, 7. I could be
yeah.
wrong, but it was fairly. It was in the mid 2000s.
So I always really liked Mario Kart games. I think when I talk about like the very first video game I ever played, I always say it was either Super Mario 64 or Mario Kart 64. And I mean, even from Mario Kart 64, I always really liked like just doing, the time trials, trying to be as fast as I could, the ghost feature.
Hmm.
When Mario Kart Wii came out, I got really into that. And my dad and I would actually steal like times from each other in all the courses. And we had some where it's like he's never beating me. We have some where I'm never beating him. But the Mario Kart Wii, one of the features that I really liked was being able to see like the fastest times in the world because they had that online system. And so I would go on there and I would see like, okay, so I think I'm really good at this course. Let me see what the top person's doing. And then I'd be like, oh goodness, like this is nowhere near what I'm doing. Um, so I started learning about like, there were like shortcuts people were doing. and things like that, that I was like, "This is really interesting." I got really interested in that, but that was kind of like the only speedrunning thing I was doing back then, was just, seeing how fast I could complete courses in Mario Kart Wii and, like, what of those shortcuts I could figure out how to do just from watching the people in those replays. Because I wasn't really, like, super on the internet at that time. I'd say I was watching, like, maybe Let's Plays, if anything, around that time, and then a few years later, I don't know why, but I stumbled on, I think, probably the Wind Waker speedrunning community because of the Wind Waker randomizer races that Gymnast86 was doing with, like, Linkus. Um, there was an entire community around that, and I started getting really into just watching, like, any Zelda speedruns, basically, like Poe Squidward and Gymnast86 a lot of times. He does, like, all 3D Zeldas, and
Yep.
then I loved that. I loved that so much. I thought it was so cool, like, realizing that people could play these games over and over again made me really happy because 'cause I've always been attached to those games, and, so I just loved that. And then for some reason, I think I got really interested in, like, Luigi's Mansion. I've always loved that game, and I remember, like, YouTube searching for Luigi's Mansion content and finding Fire Dragon speedrunning Luigi's Mansion 100%, and I was like, "Oh, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my life." So, I got really into that. I started watching him. He also did SMS, Mario Sunshine. He did Mario Kart 64, a few other things. Um, I watched him for a few years, and then I started watching Cheese and Simply in SM64 around something like 2018.
Hmm.
Um, and for a long time, it was just those people. Like, it was just that handful of people. I wasn't super involved in the speedrunning community or anything. I watched a lot on YouTube mostly, and then I watched, like, that handful of people on Twitch. Um, and I watched a lot of, like, Simply's, like, freshman, sophomore 16 when those came out, and randomizer content and, like, whatever things that they were uploading to YouTube a lot of times. I watched Fire Dragon and Gymnast on Twitch pretty much exclusively for a really long time. Um, and then for me, I got into speedrunning because of the pandemic, which I think people do a lot.
Yeah, that birthed a lot of speedrunners. The Well, at least one good thing came out of COVID, I guess.
Yes, exactly. There was not a lot going on in 2020. I started working from home, which helped a little bit opening up my schedule. I've been streaming since 2015, actually, believe it or
Mhm.
not. Um, but I never considered doing speedrunning myself. I did like Hearthstone a lot. I didn't speedrun. I streamed like Clash Royale for a little while, like just whatever, mostly Hearthstone on and off over the years, like very infrequently. But in 2021, a good friend of mine that I know through like just like an online friend that I've known for years messaged me and he was like, "I'm considering learning 16 star and I think we should do it together and have like a rivalry." And I was like, "Yeah, like that sounds great. I've thought about doing it for a long time and I have a console and I have the game, so why not?" So, I pulled up, it ended up being Drogi's tutorial. Drogi's
Hmm.
16 star tutorial is the one. I looked at a couple, but that was the one that worked for me. Had my console, did not know Uzumune existed, did not set up the emulator or anything. So it took me a while because I kept dying and having to start over, but I watched that tutorial and worked my way through 16 star, and over the course of like 8 hours learned the run, and then I, like, pulled out my iPhone and recorded my first time, which was, like, 40 something minutes into a run.
Sounds about standard.
Yeah. Um, and then a couple months later, I was like, I should stream that. And to the sadness of a lot of people that I know, I switched to emulator and started streaming.
No, no.
Yep. Still on emulator. Haven't switched to console yet. Console's downstairs.
People aren't gonna like hearing that.
Oh, they never do. They never do. They never like hearing that I have everything I need. Dave isn't here to hear this. I know. He was going to be. Until Simply DM'd him. But yeah, I started doing 16 star with the goal of getting a sub 20, but I was working full time, and so sub 20 without the resources of the community and just me and my friend and streaming to like just our mutual friends because I wasn't like networking or anything. I was just doing this like, in my spare time. Took a long time to make any progress. I was I got down to like low 20s pretty fast, and then I just kind of was hanging out there for a really long time. Like I think I had like a 21 or a 20 something for a long time. From 2021 until the start of this year actually, really, cuz it was like very intermittent, like I'd do like a few runs for like a day and then I wouldn't play for 3 or 4 months. Um but what ended up happening is I always wanted to stream and take it more seriously my entire life. It was something I thought about a lot. It was like I'm not really a regretful person. Generally in life, I've been happy with the decisions that I've always made, and I've always said things have worked out, things have ended up the way I've needed them to. But the one persistent thing that would nag at me was that I never gave content creation a real chance. Um, and it stressed me a lot, and it would leave me feeling really sad. Every few years, I would see where I could have been in my head if I had, like, taken it seriously when, like, some kind of when certain content things would happen and I'd be like, "Oh, I was super into that at the time, but I just wasn't streaming it." And I would just think about opportunities I could have had, events that I would have loved to have participated in. I was always really interested in commentating as well, and I saw a lot of really cool events I would have loved to be a part of and do commentating for or participate in. And those things were just passing me by and I was just getting older. And at the end of 2023, that started really weighing on me. Um I watched a lot of Dr. K in 2023, which is usually a sign that things are going really well with your mental health.
Yeah.
If you guys know Dr. K. And he interviewed Squeaks.
Hmm.
And I I was not an early adopter of Squeaks when you talk about people in the SM64 community because they know he's been around for a long time. As far as YouTube is concerned, I was an early adopter because I came in right from that very first like Ludwig collab that he did. I think it was maybe they did like Mario Party or something. I don't remember. He did some collab. I loved him immediately. I was like, this guy's hilarious. He needs to be a lot bigger than he is. And then he obviously blew up like right after that. But he did that interview with Dr. K, and in that interview they talk a lot about why he ended up streaming full time, and when he talked about his job in finance, it related a lot for me with my job in insurance. And when he talked about never putting 100% into anything and feeling like content creation and making people laugh and entertaining people was like the only thing he was really passionate about, I really related to that. And when he said like getting fired was the best thing that ever happened to him, like it really struck me deeply. And I was like, man, I wish that would happen to me.
I wish I'd get fired.
We should get fired from my career where I'm making a really comfortable living and everyone thinks I'm great and I would get to work from home and I could retire doing this job. And I was like, that's not ideal.
Yeah.
So Unsurprisingly, I ended up having a little bit of a mental health crisis very shortly after this interview happened. And took a leave from work. And it was supposed to be 3 months, January through March. And I said, "You know what? I am never going to have an opportunity like this again. I'm going to stream full time for the entire time. That's not what I'm supposed to be doing." And I did get therapy, to be fair. I was doing that and I was trying to, make things work. But I was like, I'm going to take this opportunity and I'm going to see how it goes. I'm just going to see. I'm going to treat it as if it's my job. And if I still love it and I'm doing well, I had kind of these ideas in my head of like metrics I wanted to be at. And I also wanted to make sure that I was consistent because I never streamed or did anything consistently. I always kind of like picked things up and dropped them. I was like, if I speedrun and do this and I'm still loving it and it's going well, I will consider quitting my job. So I did that. January 8th was my first full-time stream. I collaborated with Zeus, Mr. Zeus44 on like January 10th. I think it was like my third stream. I think it was a Wednesday. He taught me the first half of 70 Star, which took 4 hours.
Yeah.
Did not go well, but I learned a lot. And I streamed and I did any events that I could. I commentated for his 120 star tournament. I was in a League of Legends tournament and I did a lot of 16 star. I got my sub 20 in February. I joined the Women's History Month tournament and actually got my first 18 live there.
Wow.
Like a month after my sub 20, which was very surprising. Didn't expect that. I loved everything that I was doing and I got really motivated to keep streaming. I started really wanting to do a tournament myself. I had the idea for what ended up being the Coaches and Noobs tournament. Which I can go into if you want.
Yeah, sure.
So that was a tournament I ran. It's actually why I ended up quitting for sure, was I wanted to run this tournament. And it was basically I had people that had never speedrun before paired up with people that were experienced Super Mario 64 speedrunners in the community. Because to be honest, during that time, that January through March period where I was figuring out, what I'm doing with my life, the Super Mario 64 community really came through for me. They were very supportive from the start. They were so helpful. They were just always there for me. And when I made the decision to quit my job, I went live and I talked to them about it. I'm like, hey guys, this is insane, but I'm thinking about doing this. And the way that they rallied around me and said, like, we think that this is a good thing and like we'll be here for you. And I told them, I'm like, this is the first time in my life that I felt like there were people that really truly believed in me.
Hmm.
It was, yeah, I don't know, it changed my life. So I was like, I really wanted to give other people that opportunity to get to know the community. Because it was huge for me. The progress that I made with speedrunning and just as a person changed my life. And I really wanted other people to have that opportunity that maybe were, you know, unsure of the path forward to speedrunning, people that maybe like me, like watched for many years. And just were like, I don't know if I'd be good at it, or I don't know if it's for me. People that just needed like, someone there with them to help them. So, and also the thing was too, I mean, I love my backseaters, but I was like, you guys need an outlet. You need somebody who wants your help because right now, when I'm losing this run, I don't want to hear it. So I posted signups in April. I quit my job, and I was like, if you want to coach somebody, sign up. If you want to speedrun, sign up. And I will get you paired up if you don't sign up with somebody. Tons of signups. I was supposed to just have 16 noobs and 16 coaches, and we ended up doubling that because there were just too many
Jeez.
people. I couldn't say no. Um, and almost all of the runners had no speedrunning experience at all. Like
Wow.
not Mario, not anything else. Um, there were a couple of people that had done like really random obscure things like Undertale speedrunning, which is very different, or like there were some people, I think there was somebody that we had that actually did like retro games. Um there were a couple of things like that, or maybe someone that had like done like a Sunshine Run 3 years ago that I got to watch, and I was like, yeah, I think they'll work. Um, and it was amazing. It was freaking incredible. It was so good. The community really came through, not only for their own teammates, but like you'd see three coaches in someone else's chat helping them, which is exactly what I wanted. I told them, I'm like, you guys, like, I have a Discord VC in here for you guys. Like, I don't hide secrets from each other. Just play. I just want everyone to get as good at the game as they can. It doesn't have to be, anything crazy. And they did. They worked really hard and got some crazy times. Like, it was insane the progress that people made, and um it was really, really cool for me because I got to see a lot of their like first ever run. Any of my noobs, if they went live, I was there for all of it. I watched like the first, someone barely getting a sub hour all the way down to when people were getting 19s and then 18s. It
Wow.
was crazy. um it was insane. It was the best thing I've ever done in my entire life. And I was like, yep, this is it. So I guess my speedrunning journey is a lot about, the things that other people have accomplished in the community, but it's just because I really care about it a lot. For me personally, I'm super close to a 17 in 16 star. I've had an 1801 for like a couple months now. Super close to a sub hour and 70. We don't talk about 120,
Mm.
and I'm working on Luigi's Mansion and Pokemon Puzzle League. But really, like what I care about the most is just the community and how everyone comes together for stuff like this.
Mhm. Yeah, the speedrunning community in general is very nice from what I've seen. I'm not like part of Mario 64 specifically. I kind
Mhm.
of was partially adopted thanks to getting into Pace once, and that's like Super Mario 64 focused, so
Yeah.
kind of. But yes, it's very nice from
Yeah.
everything I've seen. So,
Yeah, it was really cool. I love that about Pace. And that's how I met you actually,
mhm.
because I remember you somehow ended up in the Smash Ultimate drinking game that I made up in the
It's all
hotel
King J's
room.
fault. That's what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, yeah. Drinking at Pace, King J. Somehow this all lines up.
Mhm. It always does.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and that's something too, like, pace is incredible.
Mhm.
When you meet all these people online and you feel like, this is a place where I feel like I finally fit in and people understand me, there's still that, like, part of you that's like, "Yeah, it's gonna be super awkward in person, though, like, I don't know these people really, it's gonna be weird." Or they're not going to like me or whatever. But when I went to Summer Pace, I felt really comfortable and included like frame one immediately. I felt like people wanted me to be there. There was always stuff to do, and we were all there for like the same reasons. We all had the same like passion in speedrunning and just seeing what people are doing. And it was just amazing from the start.
Mhm. Yeah, I my first speedrun events were GDQs in like 2018. So, you can imagine it's something at that scale and being new. I didn't really do anything didn't know anyone one other than like, the group of people in the community I was in. So that's just where I
Right.
stuck. But it was hard to branch out there, especially like, maybe some social anxiety, even though everyone has that that goes to speedrunning events. Let's just keep
Yeah.
it real, I guess. But I go to Pace for the first time, and I didn't really know anyone when I first went there, but I came out like feeling I was a part of that community now too. Like I did not feel excluded in any way, shape, or form
Yeah.
because I was like
Yeah.
the only Mario One person there that Pace 2022. It wasn't until the next one where we started having the Mario One stuff there, so it was
Yeah.
super different than GDQ. Just felt very like they're both great in their own ways, but they're very different.
100%. Yeah, and I haven't been to GDQ. That's always like something that I wanted to do because like I've been watching JDQ for years, like AGDQ specifically. I remember like watching a lot of that. But Pays is definitely a very different vibe, especially because it's like it's very small, it's very focused. I feel like everyone the community, even though there's like so many different games out there, I feel like the speedrunning community itself, like there's just a lot of familiarity with each other. Like we all just go through a lot of the same stuff and there's like so much overlap where even if you don't play the same game as someone, maybe you've like randomly watched a few runs of that thing and then like you both know like some other runner in some other game or you have like I feel like a lot of speedrunners have like games they branch out to or have tried at some point and they're like, "Oh yeah, I've actually done that before." There's just always something to relate on. Um and then it's just like I don't know, it's just a community that's super open and welcoming and even if it's like something you don't know about, I love learning about new speedruns. I always think
Hmm.
it's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, GDQ's I feel like any speedrunner that has any interest should go to at least one because
Mhm.
that was what when I first was getting into speedrunning, that is what hooked me officially was, oh, this is what it's all about. Because you don't really get that until you go to a live event and actually see everyone in person and talk and share everything. So yeah, pace is obviously a lot more. It's a little harder at GDQ. It's just so overwhelming because there's like 2,000 people there, and usually people have their own cliques and stuff. Like they're not going to
Mhm.
reject you or anything. It's just harder to branch out, I guess. But a smaller events, like you're almost. I don't mean this in the negative way, but you're like forced to interact with the same people the whole time, so it helps out in that aspect a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, you just get really familiar with each other. A part of me getting like really into Puzzle League speedrunning was I was thinking that I might want to at some point try to submit for a Puzzle League run at GDQ. The tough thing about that game is that it can be very RNG heavy. There are strategies that you employ to manipulate the AI to get the run done quickly. It's definitely easier on the easier difficulties, but I wanted to do S hard, which is the hardest difficulty, and it's known for being really, really tough, especially if you're speedrunning it. You do a lot of level resetting. But that was actually a motivation for me, like going really hard on Puzzle League for a while was I was like, everyone's done SM64 and I am nowhere near and never will be one of the best runners in that game, but I am pretty good at Puzzle League and people actually do like watching it. Maybe I could do something with that.
I'll definitely keep trying. I mean, sometimes it takes a long time, but usually you get, as long as you keep trying, you'll eventually get there. Like
Yeah, that's definitely
it took me
it
a
has to
minute, and now I'm like there every time for some reason. I'm not gonna complain, but it definitely took a few years.
right. Yeah, I think a lot of things are like that. And I think something that a lot of people don't realize is like how common that is and if you
They
get
get
really
so
comfortable
many submissions. It's crazy.
right.
Like
Yeah.
they can only fill up a week. They get like a couple months worth of submissions or something. It's like Oh, I see why this is difficult.
Right. Oh, I can't imagine having to pick and choose what gets accepted too. Like that
Hmm.
decision making would be so hard when it's like there are so many interesting showcases that could be shown. There's so many things that could be seen and you never know for sure like what people are going to want to watch.
Hmm.
Um that would be just crazy to have to like make that decision. But yeah, I think that getting really comfortable with the idea that, like, you might get rejected, 1 or 2 or 3 or maybe more
10.
times,
Yeah.
but doing it anyway, I think is really valuable. It's an experience that has served me well in a lot of areas in life. It's just knowing, like, probably gonna be a no this time, and I'm not gonna take it personally. It's not like they don't like me. It's not like it's never gonna work out. I'm just gonna
Hmm.
try again, learn from it if I can, and see what works out, and being persistent usually pays off.
Yeah, definitely. And that's also what's nice about smaller events like PACE is you have a better chance because they don't have to go through as many submissions. So the odds are a
Yeah.
little greater in that aspect.
Yeah, definitely. I considered that too. I came really close to submitting Puzzle League to Summer Pace, actually. I just was really busy, and I think I made up my mind a little too late because I was like, well, I'd have to bring all this stuff, and at the time I wasn't using the SRC verified like approved emulator. I had to change emulators. I was like, yeah, I'm just not gonna worry about it this time and focus on doing any comms opportunities that I could. And then for fall, it wasn't even on my mind because I was like, I'm gonna do the 120 LTA. Because Milo was like super down to have me for that when I was too late for summer, but he was like, "I would love to have you for fall."
Hmm.
Um, and then the Luigi's Mansion LTA was, like, my dream event, and West Dog, who decided to host it, DM'd me before it was even approved and was like, "Hey, I'm trying to make this happen." And I was like, "If you make that happen, I will go to Fall Pace, even though it's on the other side of the country, and I really shouldn't be doing that on my streamer budget. I will go." And so he made it happen, and I went.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the big thing, commentary. You do a lot of that, obviously.
I
So,
do.
do you know like
I
what got you to like decide to start doing that?
I so before I got into speedrunning, I was really into esports, actually. I played a lot of League of Legends, way too much, way, way too much. And I watched the LCS, which is the League Championship Series, pretty religiously, honestly, for a few years. Like that was my football. I'm not
Yeah.
into sports. I have always hated them. Just for me personally, didn't like doing them, didn't like watching them, but I got really into watching League of Legends, and I watched the North American and Korean scene especially for years. And I really wanted to someday work for Riot and be like an esports commentator. I thought that'd be really cool. I like talking about things, and I'm usually better at talking than playing. So it's like this seems like a natural progression for me. But I never really did anything to pursue it. I never like did anything serious. Um, and then getting into speedrunning, I kind of guess it went down a similar path for me where I was like, I've always been really into events more so than anything. Like speedrunning, working your way up the leaderboard is very appealing to me, but it doesn't play as well to my strengths as watching and sharing insight and having conversations with people. That's just more natural for me. So my involvement in events immediately was okay, well I want to do commentating, and I tweeted in like December of 2023, hey, if you guys out there in the speedrunning world have any tournaments, events, things that you need commentators for, hit me up. Um, and I was looking for anything. And I was looking even outside of speedrunning as well. I ended up being in a League of Legends tournament in January for a similar reason, but I followed Zeus because he had a 120 event coming up, and on like Christmas Eve, he drunkenly tweeted Mario, just the word Mario,
Mario.
and I replied Mario, and the next day he DM'd me. It's like,
Okay.
"Hey, I have a tournament. Would you like to do comms for it? Because I saw your tweet." And I was like,
Okay.
"Absolutely, I would. I would love to do that."
And that's how connections are made.
That's yeah, and he ended up being now we like he's my closest collaborator. We do content together all the time. We just did a spy party 1v1 that lasted like 6 hours the other day. The community really had a lot of fun with that. Oh, we did Among Us last night, like with a bunch of people in the community. Just a bunch of Mario people. We had like Connor Avatar, like a bunch of West Dog, just a ton of people that are in the community. Um Beeve, who was supposed to be here today in chat. And yeah, I don't know. It all started from that. I was like, I have never done comms before. And he's like, that's fine. A lot of people haven't that I have in here. And I was like, okay, well, I'll do my best. I don't know a ton about 120, but I've been watching for a long time, so surely it'll be fine. And it was okay. It was cool. It was fine. Some people in my community found me from that and have not left my side since then. And from that point, like that was the springboard to do comms for a bunch of stuff. Dista's Stage RTA tournament, the Women's History Month tournament. I did comms for that. I did for BDEF's Club 100, and then that led to my tournament, and then reaching out to Milo and saying, "Hey, I'd love to do GSA comms. Here's all my experience." And he was like, "Yep, that looks good to me. Do whatever you want."
Mm-hmm.
And here we are.
Yeah. It's something I've been trying to do more myself. Um, trying to I've always I'm sure you probably haven't had this same thing, but I was someone that always like just didn't like the way I sounded, I guess, or tried to hide my voice. Like I had streams where I didn't have a mic for a while. Although that was also back in college where you had to be quiet anyway, so it just kind of worked out that way. But I've been slowly over time trying to get better at that. Like I'm doing this now, obviously.
Right.
I kind of have to talk a little bit for that. And the dream end goal would be to produce some sort of content myself in like YouTube, but you know, you'd have to record voiceover and that's a whole thing. Listen to yourself over and over. So I'm working my way up to that, and one of the steps I'm trying to do is do more commentary. So um that some of the other GDQ events I've been to recently, some friends have, because they're a lot more smaller, there's not a lot of people there. I've been able to do more comms there, and I've been enjoying it. So, when this pace came around, I talked to Milo. I said, "Can I do a test run? I want to try the Mario 64 comms." So, I actually had a little like 2 hour commentary slot as a third com for one of the days, and that
Oh,
was
that's
fun. That
awesome.
was actually when a Squeegee popped up with the 135. That happened to be when I was there. So that worked
Oh,
out
that's
quite well.
amazing. That's really cool. So you
So now when anyone's talking about that run, I'm just there.
yeah,
It's
you're like, "Oh
funny.
yeah, I was there for that." That's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah,
So
actually, you mentioned, thinking that I probably haven't dealt with that, but I actually hate the sound of my voice.
really, okay.
I
So
I hate it. It does
really,
make the YouTube stuff really hard. I started with YouTube, and I from the start I always was like, "Oh, I do not like the sound of my voice. I do not like the things that I say.
I
I
guess
do
it's
not like the way
probably a
that I
more
talk."
common thing than you personally realize, but I don't know.
Right.
It just made a lot of things really hard. So I guess you can totally relate to that.
Yeah. No,
That's cool.
I think a lot of people can. I think it's just we're all our own worst critic, right? So,
Sure.
yeah, I just have to push through. A lot of my things that I've done in my life is just pushing through the anxiety and assuming hopefully everyone else feels the same way and just ignoring that thing that's like, "Oh, you're so annoying." Like just
Yeah.
just go away.
Anxiety
I'm just
is,
going to do what
it's
I want
so hard
anyway.
to make it shut up though.
Yeah.
For me,
So,
it's
no,
taken
I can
lots of
relate.
therapy and meds, but we got there in the end, I guess.
Oh, Thank goodness for Effexor, man. Yeah, that's helped a lot too. I definitely I started everything unmedicated, but that helps a lot.
Hmm.
Definitely makes a difference. So yeah,
Oh,
therapy, all that stuff, I would highly, highly recommend because we all you see it a lot, especially in speedrunning. People are really hard on themselves. I think that kind of a passion attracts people that have really high standards and expectations for themselves and that hate, making mistakes, and some people take them really personally.
me.
um
Yep.
so I think it's really common in
Hmm.
the community, but
Oh yeah,
being able to
especially in the community.
persist.
That's something I've learned. It's like
Yeah.
like me saying it right now, like you probably don't feel this way. No, probably everyone feels this way and I'm just being dumb about it as always. I don't know.
No, we all do it. It's really easy to fall into that trap. And I mean, because it almost feels like ego to be like, oh, people are gonna want to watch what I'm doing. They're gonna want to listen to what I have to say. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
right.
Yeah,
There's a million other people that are. It seems like everyone's so much more entertaining and has all this other stuff going on, but like we're all in the same boat,
we're chilling.
really. Yeah,
We're doing our best out here.
we
But yeah.
are. We are doing our best.
Yeah,
I mean,
my mental health help has helped mostly with social anxiety, which is great because that was around the time I went to that first pace in 2022, and I do not think I would have had the same experience I did if I didn't start taking it more seriously. So,
that's
and
really good.
nowadays, now I didn't have a face cam for the longest time. Obviously, that's changed. This
Mhm.
podcast, like it's all been helped with like focusing more on the mental health side of things, and I think a lot of people in the community can, I guess, relate to that quite a lot. So
Yeah.
it's also
Yeah.
important to talk about sometimes. So
I agree. I'm a big I honestly I think I overshare on my stream and I
yeah.
talk about my mental health and the things that I've gone through all the time. I want people to understand that, for one, like that they're not alone and it's not just them. I have a lot of the same anxieties and a lot of the same hangups as everyone else. And despite those things, and despite feeling like, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not this and that and the other, like I'm still gonna do my best. And being able to like kind of just work through those things, I think sometimes can be helpful for people. I'll find sometimes like, you just have like a bad, I call it a bad Mario day, but whatever, bad speedrunning day,
Hmm.
and like nothing's working out, like you just cannot get runs going.
Oh yeah.
You feel like you're not entertaining, having a hard time talking to people, having a hard time getting a run, and it's like, why are people even here?
Oh,
Um
that's most streams.
I've actually started on those days talking about it. I'll actually just be like, guys, I'm having a really bad Mario day, and I'm just gonna work through really quick why I think that is. And I just start talking about like how I'm feeling and what's going on, and then I end up realizing I'll be like, oh, there's this personal thing going on that I didn't think was affecting me. And now that we're talking about it, it's definitely that.
Hmm. All
And
right.
I'll kind of like have a little therapy session with chat. And then by the end, I feel really good. And I'm like, I feel a lot better. And then the next day, I have a really good Mario day. So
Interesting.
it's really helped. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
the thing about mental health is it can take a long time to figure everything
yeah.
out. I've been doing therapy for a couple years now and I'm still not all the way there. I so
Oh, yeah.
like it takes a
100%.
long time and I don't know. You just
It
have to
does.
be like patient with yourself and it's totally okay to just stroll through the process.
Yeah. I think patience is really hard, especially when, you revolve your life around needing to do things as efficiently and quickly as possible as a speedrunner.
Speed
It's
run
like it's
mentality.
it's hard to be patient with yourself, but I think that the people that are the most successful find it within themselves somehow to be patient anyway, even if they're like internally screaming the entire time.
Oh, I externally scream. No,
I
Not
mean,
quite like that, but no, I get it.
that works for some people. I would say, someone like Lunar Jump has seen a lot of success in his speedrunning despite externally screaming all the time. And even someone really chill and really patient, like Slippery Nip, one of the top 16 speedrunners in the world, he sometimes does it too. So I think that
Oh,
we
I've
all
been
kind of
there.
battle that.
Yeah. It's gotten a lot better. Um,
Yeah.
I usually don't vocalize any frustration, and I've always been a quiet person anyway, so even when I got upset, it wouldn't be like loud, but yeah, it is nice to not vocalize it as much, I guess. I don't know how to really describe it. Like, yeah, it works
Yeah.
for some, but
Yeah, I used to be loud. I used to be a rager.
mhm.
I was mostly getting past that by the time I got into speedrunning, but during my esports days, oh man, it was not good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
My
I was
late
definitely
teens, I
toxic.
was I was a huge rager.
Yeah,
I only show this very infrequently, but I have a hole in my wall.
Oh, do we now?
Oh yeah.
Oh, we do.
Yeah. Uh that's been there a while. I
Yeah,
should probably cover it, but it's just funny that it's there cuz that's
it is
so
kind
not
of
like
funny.
me.
Yeah,
Especially not anymore. That was years ago. So,
yeah, it's kind of like it's a physical representation of where you used to be
mhm.
versus where you are
I guess it
now.
is a nice reminder that I would never do that today.
Yeah, you've come a long way.
I've never thought of that. That's a good way. You know what? I'm keeping it there forever. No.
Yeah, there you go. Now you have a
No.
perfect excuse to not have to go back.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, my old apartment, the place I lived right before I moved here a couple years ago, there were some dents in
Hmm.
the wall.
Yeah.
I don't quite have the physical capacity to be putting holes in my drywall, although I would have if I could.
I'm surprised I
Um
could. I'm not exactly the pinnacle of health over here, but
Sometimes we surprise ourselves.
mhm.
But yeah, no, I'm definitely really happy that that's not the person that I am anymore, and
Mhm.
that is something that I've been really open with my community about, is that, like, yeah, I've been there, and, like, I still get really angry sometimes. It comes out in a very different way, and I've become a lot more emotionally self-aware, which has helped a lot because now I'm not getting to the point where I need to break something before I realize, like, "Oh, I am not feeling good. I need to stop what I'm doing."
Mhm. Yeah, the original thought process is even though you're hating everything, you need to keep trying. But
Right.
you can, take a minute, reflect. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's actually
Yes.
okay to do.
It is actually fine. And pushing through that sometimes, you know, it generally doesn't tend to work out. It's if you're already tilted, like, you're gonna keep making mistakes.
Yeah.
Like, you're in that mindset, you've already cooked yourself at that point. So for me, I'm like, if I'm feeling that upset, like, I at the least am gonna take like a 5-10 minute break. And
Mhm.
I've done that before, rarely on stream. I usually stay parked in my seat the entire time. Even if it's 8 hours, like, I barely get up even to like use the restroom. I'm just like, I am locked in. But if I get to that point, it's like I'm either taking a break or I'm just gonna raid out. Tomorrow's a new day.
Mhm. Fair enough.
And that's kept me sane for the most part. Seeing as this is the only thing that I do right now, I kind of have to not burn myself out of it. So I have to be really patient with myself.
Mhm. But yeah, we could be doing commentary together in the near future, I guess. Is where this is all coming from. Because
Yeah,
now I'm part of the like Mario 64 like little channel they have for that, and I'd like to do more events. I think it'll help with all the other stuff I want to do. So should be fun. I've been enjoying
absolutely.
commentary. So
Well, now I know too. So when I have my next event, because I events is definitely where I see my future. I'll definitely keep you in mind as
mm,
someone that would be open and willing. And that's actually something I wanted to talk about earlier too. When you were talking about social anxiety,
mm-hmm.
and having a hard time like reaching out to people. The community has been so receptive. When I did my coaches and noobs tournament, um, there were a lot of people that signed up that I didn't expect, but also there were a lot of people that I reached out to. Like Simply, he ended up doing comms for my finals.
Hmm.
I didn't expect that at all. Like, but I asked because the worst that he can say is no, right?
Yeah.
So that's another thing that is really important for people to realize is like even if you feel like, like, oh, they're not gonna wanna like do this with me or whatever, like I have like I do collabs with cheese sometimes. Like we have stuff that we're working on because I like reached out and was like, "Hey, would you want to do this?" Like, and he's like, "Sure, that sounds fun." I'm like, "Okay, I guess I'm doing content with cheese now." Like, you know, um, people seem further removed than they are because of maybe like a platform that they have, but we're all kind of just a bunch of nerds that like playing video games over and over again. So we have a lot in common.
Hmm. Yeah. The speedrunning community seems to be very like-minded, I guess. It's the best
Yeah.
way to put it. So,
I fully agree, and that's
and
been
I
really
love that.
cool.
Yeah.
Me too.
Makes it
That
so
was
much easier to befriend people.
Yeah, and it's really nice too for, like, learning the games, like so at Fall Pace, I participated in the Super Mario Sunshine Relay.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, I ended up doing Rico 2, which is I don't know if you're familiar with the run, but it's blooperless. Um
Is that the race?
Yeah,
Okay. No,
yeah,
I've seen where you like go on the ceiling and
yeah,
yeah, okay.
exactly.
I'm
Yeah,
kind of
I
aware. Kind of.
it's one of, like it's one of the main, like I think it's, like, one of the first, like, sunshine speedrunning tricks a lot of people learn if they are interested in the game. Um, and I signed up and I just put that I wanted to do that shine, and some people were like, "I don't know if you're gonna get that one, like, it's pretty popular," and then they told me, like, 3 days before pace that I got it, and I was
Hmm.
like, "Oh, I need to learn this now because 'cause I've never." The last time I played Sunshine, I was, like, 12 years old, and I played, like, a couple of times, so I had no experience. Um, but when I went to PACE, there were people in the community, that were, like, super happy to show me and, like, help me, and even, like, one of the very top sunshine runners, like, Audmay, was, like, there helping me and, like, hanging out, and I was like, "Dude, speedrunning community is so cool."
It's the best. That's
It's amazing.
why I've
So
spent thousands of dollars on events. I have my badge collection's like at 14 now or something.
Oh, that's amazing. I would love to get to that point because, yeah, this is definitely it's definitely my present and also my future is speedrunning and gaming events, like, regardless of whether it's SM64 or it's something else. This is everything to me. This is
Hmm.
everything I wanted, and I'm gonna continue with it, so I'm looking forward to expanding on my collection as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely not stopping here. I mean, I already have to do GDQ in a month. Man,
That's exciting.
my wallet hates me. It's crazy. That's
I
the one
mean,
problem.
yeah, it can be tough. I know for me, those events are, like, where I feel the most alive, though.
Hmm.
Like, sometimes I think it's really easy to get lost in, the repetitiveness of the days and, like, the patterns and the daily routine and, work and obligations and all that stuff. Like, it all kind of blurs together, but when you go out of your norm and you go somewhere new and you go and you do these events, like, I always feel really present, which is very valuable to me, and I think that's why it's worth it for me to go do stuff like this.
I feel like the days I'm at an event, I'm just counting down the days to the next event.
Yeah. Yeah. Ugh, the post pays blues were
Oh,
so
they hit.
real this year.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's gonna
Dude,
be interesting now that they're gonna have to find a new venue.
yeah. I've heard rumors it could be in Chicago.
That would be great
Um,
because I'm in that state. I can drive there in
oh,
4 hours. That would be
oh,
okay.
that's wonderful. Yeah, that's huge for you.
We'll
It
see if
is
that's real.
closer to me. I
Mhm.
could probably get there in one trip. Because from Oregon to Maryland right now, it's almost always at least one layover. So I'm also kind of hoping Chicago would be great. If they wanted to do it in like, Seattle, I wouldn't be mad either. But I'm sure that's not gonna happen.
I was in
It sounds
Seattle
like they
for PAX because GDQ does
yeah.
a little thing there that I got into.
I almost signed up for that, actually.
Oh yeah, that was my
Yeah.
first con that wasn't speedrun, like primarily a speedrun event. So that was like the first big thing. And then I did TwitchCon like the next month, but yeah,
Oh,
PAX was
wow.
that first like new thing for me.
That's really cool. Yeah, I saw that it was really close. A Seattle trip for me is like maybe like a 4 to 6 hour drive or like just an hour on a plane. It's really close. So I got to the point where I actually like had the form most of the way filled out to do a Puzzle League submission. And I probably would have done the same thing that I did for Summer Pace if I really wanted to go to PAX. I would have looked for games that I'm familiar with that were lacking commentators because at Summer I ended up commentating for JJ's 100% Luigi's Mansion speedrun because I saw he had no commentator signed up and I just DM'd him and said, "Hey, I don't know if you wanted a commentator for this, but I would love to do this." And he was like, "Yes, please. That sounds great." And I was like, "Great. This is perfect for me." So I was going to probably do the same thing, but I was like pretty sold on fall once I heard about the Luigi's Mansion LTA. So then I was just like, I'm not trying to do a bunch of stuff at the end of the year.
Hmm. I actually kind of want to dive into Luigi's Mansion because I'm not familiar with it at all, and I don't think it's a game I've ever really brought up on here. So
Okay. I would love to do that. It's my favorite speed game, actually.
really, okay, well, I guess that works out quite well then. So
Yeah. Okay. So Luigi's Mansion, it is a very interesting speed run because Luigi does not jump or run in that game at all. He has a vacuum and he walks everywhere. He kind of shuffles like an old man. He shuffles around everywhere because he's terrified. He's in the mansion. He's looking for Mario. And there are a few main categories in Luigi's Mansion. Um, you always want to play either you want to play on JP, ideally the Japanese version. You can also play on US. It's a little harder actually. Um, in a rare twist, you take double damage on US compared to on JP. And you definitely don't want to play PAL because PAL is I feel like it was designed in a lab to torture sad European children. They made it way, way harder. They added a ton of ghosts. You can't even get the top ranked mansion without doing hidden mansion, which requires you to beat the game once. So if you were trying as a kid to like get all the completion, you literally cannot do it without beating the game once. Um, and they just added like a bunch of ghost spawns, a bunch of things that didn't make sense. So anyway, yeah, you play on JP. You want to get for any percent no out of bounds. You want to get 40 boos. And the portrait ghosts. Not all of them, but most of them, because you need to unlock the mansion at the end to beat King Boo. It's like a pretty linear route. Nothing crazy you have to do, although there are a few tricks. If you're at the top level, there are a few things that are frame perfect. Um, One of them is like really early in the game. There's a boss called Chauncey, It's an evil ghost baby. And to one cycle that boss, you have to get a frame perfect input. So a lot of people reset area 1. It's become a lot more consistent, I've noticed. So when Wes did the Luigi's Mansion LTA in January, which was actually my first time ever seeing him, I knew him as a Luigi's Mansion person, not a Mario person, which people always find surprising, seeing as he doesn't even run the game. Um, when he did that, there was a lot of resetting in Area 1. That was like most of the LTA was like people resetting. You might see like there were like 6 people I think competing, maybe like 1 would be on an actual run, and there were like 4 or 5 people resetting. At the LTA at the fall pace event that was in person, there was usually pretty much everyone was on a run. They were actually very consistent, so I'm really impressed at how far the community's come over the course of the year. The thing was that the one cycle had just been discovered, like, maybe a month prior in January. I think it was a December discovery. Um, and at the same time too, not too long after that, I think, they had discovered a King Boo, which is the final boss, one cycle strat as well, which is also very, very technically specific. A lot of runners that are really good actually still don't even do it. Um, so there was just a lot, I think, going on at the time. But now it's, I don't know, it's crazy how much it's changed. So there's those things, but generally the run's not that bad to get into at an entry level. The main thing is just how much RNG there is, because every boo has a possibility of going into any one of several hiding places. And then once you find them, you have to try to catch them. There's a lot that goes into trying to do that and cycle them down before they leave the room. And then when they leave the room, they could go into any room, and then, say they go left when you wanted them to go down. This could be a 20-second time loss. And you have no control, really.
That's a
There's a
lot of
little bit of
boos
things
too.
you can do. Yeah, there's 40 in any percent out of bounds and 50 and 100%. So
Gosh.
yeah, between that and then once you catch the boo, every single time, EGAD comes on the phone and he talks. And the amount that he talks can be like 2 text boxes, or it can be like 10.
Oh,
And it's completely random. There's no manipulation for this.
fantastic.
Um, yeah, so that can really add up. Because it's a few seconds difference between the fast text and the long one, and he can do that 50 times,
Mm-hmm.
including he talks about a ghost called Van Gore, and that's the long text. And after you've already captured that ghost, there's a boo, and that boo can still give you the text where he tells you about Van Gore, and you're like, yeah, I know about that guy. We just caught him. Like, we just did that. So thank you for letting me know. So there's that. There's also something called early release, where these 2 ballroom ghosts, they're dancing. And there's a completely random chance that you can catch them early, basically, in their dance. And if they don't, it's like 9 seconds that you lose just immediately off the bat. Some people reset to that. Most people don't, because it's just like, what can you do, man? If you get Chauncey one cycle and then you go down, and immediately the next thing that happens is you just automatically lose nearly 10 seconds just because of RNG. Like, it's like, oh, okay, all right, man, that's cool.
Sounds like hell to run. I'll be real.
It's definitely tough. I'd say my favorite category, which is 100%, is wild too, because the thing is, to get 100% in the game, you need all 50 boos, you need all the portrait ghosts, but you also need to get the A rank mansion. To get the A rank mansion, you need 100 million gold or money, whatever. And the thing is, you do not know how much money you have throughout the run. You get like quick little checkpoints after each boss, but if you're mashing optimally, there's actually not a single frame where that total even shows up.
Hmm.
So, what happens a lot is you complete a 100% run, you get your PB, and then you have to wait for a really long cutscene and go to the end and see the money count to see if your run that you just completed was valid or not.
Okay.
So, you don't actually even know if you had a valid run, and I've actually seen oh man, this happened with Fire Dragon a lot. I've been watching him. He's been running the game since 2012, so 12 years now. There's been a lot of times where I've seen him get a PB and then he goes for the money count and he has 99.2 million gold
Hmm.
and the run is invalid.
Love that.
Um yeah, it's crazy. And the thing is, that's not even like the hardest category. These are just like the basic categories. It's those two and then any percent, which is like a 5-minute speed run, where you go out of
Oh.
bounds like immediately, and clip basically to the end of the game. So the hardest category is actually PAL max percent. Because there's a lot more than 100 million gold in the game, as it turns out. That's just the amount that we need. There's a ton of money, but the thing is, the money locations are random whether or not they give you money.
Hmm.
And if you take any damage in the game, you actually lose money and the money can despawn. So the max percent category requires you to get all of the money in every spot, which means going back and forth through the rooms until the RNG gives you this the check. Um Sometimes it won't and then you just lose the run. Um And then additionally, not taking damage because if you do, you're probably not going to pick up the coins fast enough. Also, sometimes money can spawn out of bounds. If that
Okay.
happens, you just lose the run. And then also there are mice that spawn randomly in the game. They have a percentage of appearing in any hallways that you walk past, and if they don't spawn, you also lose the run.
Yeah, what fun. Love
Yeah,
that.
so there's a few people that run that,
Why?
not a ton. It's it's insane, I will never ever in my life attempt that category, but I'm glad that there are people that do it for my enjoyment in their spare time.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's a crazy game, I currently do any percent no out of bounds, it's the entry level it's like the 70 star for Super Mario people out there. It's like an hour long. My PB is a 116. World record's like a 55, I think right now, maybe a 54. It's a 54 actually. Um it's not that bad. It's pretty chill. And then what I want to do long term is 100%. It's my favorite category. You have to really route to get 100 million money and that's the hardest thing, but there are beginner routes. There's actually a runner I watch, her name's Millie. She just started running Luigi's Mansion not too long ago, and she started with 100% from the beginning.
Hmm.
So, yeah, which is really cool. I really wanna get into it, but I kinda wanna go for maybe a sub hour, at least a sub 105 before I start seriously trying 100%.
Got it. Yeah, I haven't even played that game casually, so it is on the backlog
Oh,
though. We'll get there
it's a
someday.
great game. It's so fun. It's a really, really fun game. I've like I usually preferred growing up Zelda games and Pokemon over Mario. It was my least favorite of the trio, personally. But my god, their spin-off games are so good. The Paper Mario series is absolutely top tier. Um the Mario and Luigi series is also really, really good. I've always really liked their side games and Luigi's Mansion. Oh my god, that game. That I 100% of that game as a kid um a couple of times and it was like one of the first games I 100%ed just cuz I loved it so much even though I was scared. because I'm kind of a baby. I get scared of games really easily. It was worth it because I just really liked it a lot, and the end cutscene made me cry a lot until I started watching the speedrun.
Made Luigi cry too.
Yeah, that's why. That's
Hmm.
what made me cry. It's like, you can't start crying, I'll start crying. It
Do you
was really
like the
fun.
sequels?
Um, so I didn't ever play the second one. I didn't have a 3DS until I was a lot older, and I heard it wasn't that good, so I just didn't bother. I'm kind of tempted to play the remake now because they have it on the Switch, and it
Oh
looks
yeah.
more worth it for me. I did play the third one a bit. I didn't finish it, but it was really good. It was closer to the original, but not the same. So like that's kind of the problem for me is it's a little too dissimilar. But the bosses are really good in that one. And I watched some of the speedrun for a while. It's just not doesn't have that nostalgia that I need. And then also I just there's something I really like about the style of the original that they just haven't captured with the others. But they are good games. The third one especially is like very solid.
Hmm. All right. Yeah, I'm just completely unfamiliar with the entire series. So.
They're really good. They're really fun. Definitely by far for me, the first one's the best. I'd say it holds up really well even now, although it is kind of a difficult game in a lot of ways. Chasing the booze from room to room, especially if you don't know the R pumping strat that helps keep them in place, um, is kind of a pain, honestly. But the game is just so fun. The characters are really good. They put a lot of love into the ghosts and like the personalities and everything. It's just really enjoyable.
Hmm. Yep, on the backlog, but my backlog has like 400 plus games, so
I feel that.
I don't
So
even have
easy
a
to just keep
GameCube.
playing.
I'd like to get a GameCube.
Oh, you don't?
I mean, I have a Wii, which is a GameCube, but like, I want a
Yeah.
GameCube because that's just fun.
I have both. My only childhood console that I have in my possession that is like from my house is the GameCube. I got it for Christmas a couple of years ago. It's been really awesome because I think it's tough for me, honestly. I actually really loved the PlayStation 2. Between that and the GameCube, one of those two is my favorite console of all time.
Yeah, I'm like completely unfamiliar with both those game libraries. Those are both
Wow.
consoles I've never owned.
Oh, dude, that is like my peak
I
childhood
know
are those two
GameCube is
consoles.
great though. A childhood friend had a GameCube though, so I remember like SA2 City Escape and Monkey Ball party games.
Monkey Ball was goated. I
I
loved
think
Monkey Ball
that's
too.
all I remember from back then. This would have been like 15 plus years ago, so.
Right, yeah. No, Wind Waker was the first game I ever 100%ed. Well, no, I would have 100%ed some N64 games as a kid, but it's like one of the ones that it's what comes to mind for me, right?
Mhm.
I loved that game so much, and actually, it was the first game I ever did a randomizer of because I got
Oh
really
yeah.
into that. Um, I love the Wind Waker randomizer so much, and there's just so many good games on it. I really wanted Pikmin and Sunshine. Those were the 2 I didn't have, and I guess I didn't have Melee either, but I didn't as a kid, I didn't feel like I missed out. Now I'm like, "Damn," you know? But, dude, there were so many, like, Prince of Persia on there, Soul Calibur 2, where you could play as Link. Um, Mario Kart Double Dash was phenomenal. I did 100% that as well. Tons of really good games, but yeah, Luigi's Mansion was definitely that game and Wind Waker were my favorites. Really good Mario parties on that console as well. Just a ton of really good games.
Yeah, that got like 4 Mario parties, which is kind of
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah. It I mean, it's weird because the thing is the GameCube didn't really sell that well.
No, yeah, it really fumbled, which is surprising because it sounds like everyone that looks back on it agrees that it had like an incredibly strong library. So, and
Yes.
people like adore the controller as well. So I don't know.
It is a
I guess they
really
just
good
marketed
controller.
it really bad or something, but I wasn't around enough to know, so I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I was really young too. And like the thing is, I think that with the Wii being backwards compatible, it
Hmm.
just if you had the Wii, you didn't need to get the GameCube. And I don't
Although their
know
later Wii
how.
models didn't have support for it. It needed to be like
Oh,
the
yeah.
original model or whatever.
Oh,
And you
dude.
needed a and I actually wanted to try out some GameCube games, but I didn't have a GameCube controller, which you need to
Oh
have. So I just
no.
never I never did.
Wow. Yeah, I learned the hard way. I remember going to Goodwill and getting a Wii and then coming home and like the whole reason I got it, like there were some Wii games I wanted to play on it, like Twilight Princess. I've always played the Wii version, not the GameCube, and like Mario Galaxy. There were a
Twilight
couple
Princess
others.
mirror mode with motion controls.
Yeah. Well, that's what I learned on. That's
Yeah.
that was my first, that was my introduction. So that's what I was used to. Um, but yeah, I got it. Like I wanted to play. I don't remember if it was Wind Waker or Luigi's Mansion. It definitely was one of those two, specifically that I wanted to play on it, and then it didn't work, and I was like, "What is going on?" And I looked it up, and I was like, "Oh, like the black Wii's aren't backwards compatible." And I was like, "Okay, well, this was a waste of $20. Like, I don't want this if it's
20
not gonna
bucks. All right.
work."
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um I will I want to give it a GameCube and get it all set up. Mainly because it also has the Game Boy player, which is huge. So you can
Mm.
play like the entire GB, GBC, GBA libraries on it too.
I actually didn't even realize that. Like
Hmm.
I knew it had some compatibility because there are some games like Wind Waker has the Tingle tuner, which works with the Game Boy Advance somehow, but I never like utilized that because my first handheld console was a DS.
Yeah, Sam. That's probably my first console that wasn't the NES. You can see
Oh,
why I
really?
speedrun Mario 1 now.
Yeah. Uh, That's crazy. That makes a lot of sense. So you didn't so did you not grow up with like the N64 then either?
No.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a
the
really interesting experience.
my parents had an NES, and then my first console that was new was a DS Lite, followed by a Wii in like 2007 or '08 or something like that.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. So
Yeah,
we
I had an
started.
interesting jump in quality from NES to Wii, I guess. It's like, oh.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's the yeah, because yeah, NES too. It's not even SNES. Like,
Nope. Yep.
wow,
Very old school over here.
that's wild.
So my nostalgia
My
comes from NES, which is a weird,
I
I guess.
mean, there were some really good games for sure.
There's a lot of
I
not good ones though, which I find a lot more fascinating. Maybe not to play,
yeah.
but to acknowledge their existence.
I really liked the library of there were a lot of those games that you could get on the Wii.
Oh yeah,
So, like that
shovelware
was
on Wii was rampant.
yeah, that was really fun. And the Wii shop too even had like
Oh
some
man,
good stuff
thank
back
God
in
for
the
Virtual
day.
Console because the NES stopped working, so the Wii VC was the only way I could actually play the NES games I had again. Although I actually fixed up the Wii later,
Oh,
or the
really?
NES later. Sorry. So
Yeah. Nice. Yeah,
and
I
then I ran on that
remember
for a little bit, so it all
that was
worked
when I
out.
first played. I think that might have been the first time I ever played first Mario Bros. Game was on Wii VC.
Hmm.
I don't remember for sure, but it might have been. I know I played a lot of Bubble Bobble on there, and I think like F-Zero or something. There's
F Zero
some
wouldn't have been on NES. Oh,
not
you're talking about
F-Zero.
VC, so it could have been.
What's it? Not F-Zero. There's a game where you're a ship and it's a very like bullet hell kind of game.
Radius?
No, there's definitely an F in it,
Oh. Hmm.
and it's like a side scroller, and there's like really freaky aliens at the end of the levels.
Hmm. Then I guess I'm not sure. NES?
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. It was
Hmm.
definitely yeah. It was really cool though. It was really fun. There were a lot of games like that.
Yeah, there were a lot of games like that that could mean anything.
I know. I liked a lot of the like that retro era. The thing is like a lot of those I knew them as like arcade games.
Mm-hmm.
Um and I played those on actually on the PlayStation 2 as well. There was a game called Midway Arcade Games and it had
Oh
like the
yeah.
original Gauntlet, it had
Mm.
Joust, it had I think Gallia, Paperboy, tons of games. And I loved it. It was so fun. There's like that skateboarding game
Oh,
with
720.
the yes, with the bees.
Yeah. Yep.
That terrified me, but I played it anyway. Really liked those games.
Mm-hmm.
PS2 was really good. There's a lot of really good games during that time.
Yeah, I never owned PlayStations. Um, I got a 360, and then yeah. Now I have a
Mm.
PS3 though, so, and I have a
PS3 is
PS1
really good.
now. I can't use the PS1 yet, but I have it.
The PlayStation era is so good.
But
Dude,
I have a
I
one and three, but
man.
not a two. We'll get there eventually. There's so many consoles I need though. I want a
Well,
Genesis, GameCube, PS2. Ah, too many consoles.
I know. I wish I had them all. That's the thing,
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't get super attached to, like, having a lot of stuff and, like, having things usually. I'm just not, like, that kind of a person, but my exception is definitely video games and, like, consoles and stuff. Like,
Yeah, for me
if
it's
I
just
had
consoles. I don't even care about physical games. I just get an EverDrive or some sort
yeah.
of game loader on the platform and use it that way.
Yeah, I can go either way. There are pros and cons. Like with my Switch, a lot of my games now are virtual, but originally I
Mm-hmm.
was getting them all physically because I do like having the games.
Yeah, I've switched into like buying modern stuff physically because you can always just sell it later, and when you
Yeah.
can get it digitally after years have passed and you don't feel bad about, you know, breaking the console. So, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I've done a lot of repurchasing games from my childhood because I just had to have them, thinking like I'm definitely going to play this and then I'm like somehow it's been 4 years and I haven't played it again, but, soon, definitely soon.
Definitely soon.
Certainly soon. Any day now, that feeling of, "Oh, it's been a while, I'll boot up the PS2 and play this game," but it's really cool. I don't know, video games are just incredible. Like,
Video games are sick. Speedrunning's sick. You know?
it is.
It's cool.
It is. It's really nice to, like, have something that you can, like, lose yourself in so completely for a long period of time. Like, I used to read a lot of books. And I don't feel like I have the attention span for that very much anymore, but video games still hold my attention even after all this time.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't think I'll ever get sick of them. Especially
Me
like
either.
I'm so into like the whole history of them, so I like old games just as much as new ones, if not better sometimes,
Yeah.
because they can be rough
Oh
out there.
man,
But yeah, I just like
dude.
everything.
I it is hard for me to turn down a Summoning Saul video.
Yeah.
I love watching those and like Bismuth too.
Hmm.
There's a lot of people that do like history of games and like speedrunning and, where they've come. That was something I was really into, like, before I was a speedrunner myself, was just watching, like, those videos and seeing, like, how did we get to where we are now? I love that progression and seeing, like, the history and people, like, making these giant improvements and competing with each other. I've always found that very compelling.
I mean, the whole reason I know what speedrunning is because of a Summoning Salt video. So
Oh, really?
that I didn't even know what Twitch was until that. I was
Oh.
I was so in the dark. I just watched YouTube, and the people I watched would never talk about streaming or anything. And
Mhm.
that was all, like let's plays, not speedrunning. They never mentioned it. Like from when I would watch YouTube religiously in like high school and everything, no one I watch would ever bring up speedrunning or anything, but now like it's talked about all the time, even from some of those same people. It's weird. It's weird how
Yeah,
like more popular it's gotten.
100%. Yeah, it's actually crazy to me. I think most of the people that I've talked to originally, like, we watched Let's Plays.
Hmm.
That was, like, what it was for me. Like, I watched, like, Chugga Conroy, Peanut Butter Gamer, Nintendo Capri Sun, uh, just a bunch of people like that for a long time before I ever, like, knew speedrunning, as what it is.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, it's crazy, like, I feel like a lot of us started that way just because I think at the heart of it, we just really had, like, a strong attachment to certain games, and anything that you could do to get replay value out of the game was good, and we need this, and, like, I consumed a lot of that content, and I originally, like, I started as a Let's Player. When I was 15, I recorded 50 episodes, I think, of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Let's Play.
Damn. All right.
Yeah. I got 100 subscribers and I was like, I'm gonna be a YouTuber one day and I'm gonna go to MagCon and E3. That was
Rest
the
in
dream.
peace. Yeah.
I know. I was like, this is gonna be so cool. Like, I didn't even think of it as like something that would be a career. I didn't even think like you could make money doing it. I just was like, I just really loved it.
Hmm.
And I wanted to meet these people and I wanted to see like, the Let's Play community grow. And that's what I was really into when I was a kid and where it all started for me for years.
Mm. Well, it's all kind of worked out that way, and in the end,
It
maybe a
did.
little different than originally intended, but it's still the same result.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I always said too. I mean, I was definitely a lot more pessimistic as a teenager. I think that's common. But
Oh yeah.
when I was like when I was like 19, it was so strange. I I had been moved out of my parents' house for like a year, which was huge, big W for me. It was not the best place to grow up. I remember waking up though one day and having this feeling that everything was going to work out in the end no matter what. Like, it was so weird. I woke up one day and I was like, everything's going to be fine. And from that point forward, anytime anything's been uncertain or I've had decisions to make that could change the impact of my life, or I've had, like maybe a job, like I can tell, like, it's not going so well. I've always like felt really calm and secure in the fact that like whatever happens, it's all going to work out. I don't need to know the way that it's going to work out. I don't need to make a path or a specific plan. I'm not like a 5-year, 10-year plan kind of person. I just kind of think like, here's what I want to do. I'll work towards that, and then whatever happens, like, I just say yes. Like, I'm just like, "Okay, like, alright, that's what we're doing. It's gonna work out in the end." So and it did, so far.
Well, sick.
Yeah. It's kind of weird because 'cause I've always been, like, really anxious, and I like to know how things are gonna be in a lot of context, but for some reason, the greater scope of my life is unimportant. And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Yep, I know that it's gonna work out, so, we're just gonna do what I wanna do and make the decisions I wanna make." I don't plan out things more than, like, a month, usually. I kinda know, like right now, I know what I'm doing through December 8th, and whatever happens after that is whatever happens after that.
Fair enough. I guess that answers
Yeah.
the future plans question I usually ask at the end. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you some, like, general things.
Sure.
Um, I'm gonna get a 17 and 16
Okay.
star. That's hopefully gonna be soon, but we'll see. I wanna work towards my sub hour in Luigi's Mansion and do 100%. We talked about that. I should
Hmm.
get a sub hour in 70 star too because 'cause I'm really close and, people really wanna see that. There was a meme that simply was gonna coach me to a 139 and 120 star, but I hate to tell you guys here that that was not true. That was just a tweet bet that I
No,
lost.
I thought it was a real.
Did you?
No.
Okay, good. You know, a lot of people
And
did.
I know. I was
A
like,
lot of
just.
people thought that was real. And it made rating channels really awkward for like a week because everyone would be like, "Hey, I heard about you in Simply. What's going on with that?" And I'm like, "Nothing. We do not talk." Like, I've DM'd Simply like 6 times in the past 6 months. Like, we're not that's not happening.
I'm trying to.
But,
I'm trying to be the coach for his Mario 1 endeavors, but so far
ah.
it's just limited to he reads my chat messages when he streams Mario 1.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
I'm also in
It's been
DMs with
cool.
Liam too about it, but then he took off as he always does. So who knows what he's
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah, Liam does his own thing. I think that he likes to not commit too much to anything. I think he
Yeah.
maybe even kind of similar to me in that way where it's like, we're just doing what seems right at the time. Um I yeah, definitely want to keep doing events. I'm going to be hosting I got to host something, in the next few months. I've been really focused on short term, but I do want to do at least one big event every year, I think, because it's like my favorite thing to do.
Hmm.
I loved the Coaches and Noobs tournament, even though it was a lot of work and it was very overwhelming. It was my first time ever doing anything like that. It went really well, but I want to do something else. People really want that tournament to come back. I'm not sure if it will or not. If it will, it's gonna look different for sure. Because I want to do a lot of different stuff, and then beyond that, really, I want to just keep doing collabs with people. I like working with others. I really like meeting new people. I really like going to events and doing commentating. I want to keep doing that and do more of it for more people. So if you guys have like events and things that you want me to be a part of and never feel hesitation asking, I usually am down. I like doing games and like I like hosting and being part of community stuff. So that's like a big thing that I'm focused on. I am doing this full time. So I'm working on trying to get the income to match me being able to do it forever. I have a
Hmm.
lot of savings that are sustaining me right now.
Yeah.
Um, and that's not going to last forever. So I'm going to have to get on the YouTube grind. It's
Yeah.
just
I had to get a
tough.
part-time, you know. These things happen.
Yeah.
Money hard.
Dude, that's the worst part. I do not need to be famous. That'd be
Yeah.
cool. I'm not opposed to the idea. Some people don't want that. I'm not against it, but
It's
all
not
I
a
want,
priority. Yeah.
yeah, I just want to be able to pay my bills.
Honestly, that's the same mindset I have. You
Yeah.
know, other than the mindset of I will never be able to do that, give up. But when it's not that, that's the
Yeah.
that's the goal.
I can't even entertain the idea that it's not going to work out because like I don't see that as an option for me. Like when I made
Yeah.
this decision, I was really scared to commit to full time and commit to doing this because I was like, this has been my one and only dream since I was a kid.
Hmm.
And I don't have anything else. Like if I do my best at this and I fail, I don't know what's left for me
I
because
see.
like I prioritize this over like I don't have like, oh, I want to, a lot of people will have things where they're like, I want to like get a house or I want to like have a family, I want to do this, that, the other. I actually don't have any of that. I just want like my career has always been number 1.
Hmm.
Like this is all I want. So I don't have any other plans. So I got to make it work because this is
Fair
it.
enough. Well, so far so good, I'd say. Sounds like so.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy with where things are at. And I always feel like I could be doing more and I always feel like I could be doing better. And I always, I don't feel like you ever feel like you're doing enough in this kind of a job because you can
Hmm.
always do more. But I am really happy with the things that I've done. I've done a lot of really cool stuff, and I'm gonna do a lot of more really cool stuff.
Well, hell yeah.
Hell yeah,
Hell yeah.
exactly. That's the plan.
That's the plan. Well, sounds like we're reaching a conclusion, but is there anything we didn't discuss that feels important to bring up? Or did we cover all the
Uh,
bases?
Honestly, no. I feel like I said everything I wanted to say, and I like that this somehow worked out without any kind of structure. It seems like it just kind of naturally went in a really good direction,
That's
and I really
that's
appreciate
that's my
you.
goal. So I don't have a
You do a
script
good
for
job.
this. I just kind of go off rip and see what happens. So
Yeah.
so far so
No,
good. We've made
this is
95
really
episodes
chill.
out of it or whatever we're at now. So
Yeah, you're kind of a pro at this point.
uh something like that. I try my best at least.
You
But
made it
yeah.
really easy, so definitely appreciate it. Glad it worked out.
Hmm. And yeah, sounds like we've reached the end for today. So yeah, if you want to self-promote however you'd like, feel free.
LuckyOwl360 on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Blue Sky, wherever,
Let's go Blue Sky.
TikTok even. I love Blue Sky. It's
That's so
so
good.
nice. I don't even I use Twitter as a business requirement and then
Hmm.
nothing else. Blue Sky
My
is like where
Twitter's
I'm actually.
privated now. I just don't care anymore.
Oh wow. Yeah.
I'm not gonna
I
delete it just because I don't want to delete all my history, but yeah, I just don't
yeah.
care anymore.
It's yeah, I hated it for a really long
It's
time.
there and it links to my Blue Sky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We love that. Dude, it's nice. And the engagement on Blue Sky is really good. The speedrunning community is like really migrated there, and that
Hmm.
makes me happy.
And like it doesn't suppress links or anything, so I can actually like promote something
Yes.
and people see it and I'm like, okay,
Oh
cool.
my god, yes.
So good.
No mind games to like try to convince Twitter to show people that I'm live. It's so
Hashtag
nice.
not sponsored. It's free. Free promotion. All
Yes,
right.
get a Blue Sky if you
Get
haven't
a Blue
already.
Sky.
Even if
True.
you never used Twitter, I think Blue Sky is just really good.
Yep, I think so. But yeah, sounds like that's everything. So I guess we can call it a day. Thanks for watching, everyone. Check out the YouTube VODs if you missed anything. Watch these live every Sunday, usually. That's the goal. That I'm not good at outros or intros, so there we go.
That's okay. Thank you so much for having me on. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I
Appreciate
appreciate
it.
it. Yep. All right. Well, take care, chat, and or viewers at home if you're watching the VOD. Stay tuned for next week and take care. All right,
Bye,
bye.
guys.
Bye.